What I'm seeing right now is that they not calling for ceasefire is unveiling their filthy face, absolute filthy face. The more they not call for a ceasefire, the more the countries like China and Russia are looking so much moderate now, right?
United States that has stifled the Council consensus. The US veto sent a wrong message, pushing the situation in Gaza into a more dangerous one.
So whenever the United States of America raises their hand against a ceasefire, it means that they are raising their hand for the mass murder of the Palestinian civilians, of the children, the women, the men as well, and it means they are raising their hand for ethnic cleansing. It means they are raising their hand for genocide.
Those in favor of the draft resolution contained in document S/2023/773, please raise their hand. Will those against? Abstentions? The draft resolution has not been adopted owing to the negative vote of a permanent member of the Council.
Barra 2023, 970, sírvanse levantar la mano. En contra. Abstenciones. El resultado de la votación es el siguiente: 13 votos a favor, 1 voto en contra, 1 abstención. El proyecto de resolución no ha sido aprobado debido al voto en contra de un miembro permanente del Consejo.
So, why have the United States of America not yet called for a ceasefire? And by ceasefire we mean a permanent sustainable ceasefire, not a 1-week ceasefire, a 6-week ceasefire, no, a permanent sustainable ceasefire. Why hasn't the United States of America yet called for a ceasefire? You know, 152 countries voted for ceasefire in the United Nations, right? 152 countries. The United States of America and Israel has been totally isolated on this. This is unprecedented. For the first time, I think in history, they have been so badly isolated, right? And let me tell you, even in United Nations Security Council, right, 13 out of the 15 countries have always voted for ceasefire, and only the United States has been isolated and United Kingdom has abstained, right?
Commencing with an immediate humanitarian ceasefire.
The result of the voting is as follows: 13 votes in favor, 1 abstention, 1 vote against.
So why is this that the US is still not calling for a ceasefire? Let me tell you a little secret. You know, if probably in other situations where the Gazans and Hamas would not have resisted like they have resisted this time, right? Probably the United States would have called for a ceasefire yet. But the reason they haven't called for a ceasefire yet is because of this inward hatred I repeat, because of this inward hatred against the Arab civilization, against the Arabs, against the Muslims. There is this inner hatred. There is this inner hatred. We have to call this out. That how can this small area, a small country like Gaza, how can these people, resist against them? How can these people resist against them, fight against them for justice, to the point where now they have, gained support from the entire world, to the point where, wherever Joe Biden goes, he gets stopped from speaking. Wherever Hillary Clinton goes, she gets stopped from speaking. Wherever Blinken goes, he gets stopped from speaking. I mean, this kind of humiliation from their own country, our voices has reached to the point where they are being humiliated. From this humiliation comes their hatred. And this is the point. They are not calling for a ceasefire yet. This is the point. Is this inward hatred against the Arab civilization. And I think let them not call for a ceasefire. Their ceasefire doesn't matter anymore, because the entire world has spoken. And in fact, what I am seeing right now is that they not calling for ceasefire is unveiling their filthy face, absolute filthy face, absolute destructive face, absolute mass murder, genocide, ethnic cleansing, this kind of face of the United States of American government, the regime, the extremist democracy that it really was. For several years it used to hide their face on democracy. Now we are seeing it, that it was actually a mirage of democracy. Really, it was a dictatorship, it was a terrorism, it was brutal force to establish their dominion, establish their hegemony, right? And the more they not call for a ceasefire, the more the countries like China and Russia are looking so much moderate now, right? Countries like China are being looked as moderates against them in comparison to them, right?
Rather, it is the exercise of the veto by the United States that has stifled the Council consensus. The US veto sent a wrong message, pushing the situation in Gaza into a more dangerous one.
Today, we have borne witness to yet another dark chapter in the history of the United Nations Security Council. This was yet again written by the United States delegation, the U.S. delegation, which continues to pursue the same objective, to provide cover for its closest Middle East ally and to drag out the time to the greatest possible extent for them to be able to carry out their inhumane plans against Gaza, specifically to expel the Palestinians from the Strip and to completely cleanse the Strip, essentially and quite literally transforming it into an uninhabitable territory. Under these circumstances, there are open discussions in Israeli political circles about categories which completely rule out the two-state solution.
So it will go even more counterproductive against them with time, and I think it will go in our favor even more, and the entire world will turn against this pathetic regime of Joe Biden, this pathetic regime and this pathetic extremist fascist democracy of the West. And with that, assalamu alaikum.
They want from the river to the sea. They want to return to the status quo ante-1947. Well, this resolution calls for two states on the June 1967 border in accordance with international law and all the other aspects of international law. Time doesn't allow me to go through each one, though if you ask me, I'm happy to go through it. So let's look at the voting record. 1997. So the record is the number of states who voted for it, those who abstained, and those who oppose. Or I should say, the number of states who voted for it, the number who opposed it, and the number of abstentions. Okay, what was 1997?
We had 155 yes, 2 no, and 3 abstained.
Right. Who are the 2 no?
That would be Israel and the United States of America.
Okay. So who is it that's the obstacle to peace? Is it the world, or is it the United States and Israel? Let's look at 2001. Or you know what? You do it. You choose arbitrarily, because I have to pick every year. Choose a day. Choose a year.
Yeah. I mean, every year, it's basically, everybody in the world against Israel, the U.S., and a few of our close allies. So, for example,
they're not even our allies. They're South Sea Islands.
2006, it's 157 yeses, 7 noes, 10 abstained. The noes were Israel, the U.S., Australia, Marshall Islands, Micronesia, Nauru, and Palau.
2008, what's the vote?
164 yes, 7 no, 3 abstained. The noes are Israel, U.S., Australia, the same group, Marshall Islands, Micronesia, Nauru, Palau.
Yeah. But according to Bill Maher, it's those stubborn Palestinians who are the obstacle to resolving the conflict.